I think it's a pure example of a supercar.
Sometimes war can lead to something great. This is the story of how the war between Enzo Ferrari and Ferruccio Lamborghini ultimately led to the creation of two multi-billion-dollar and world-famous exotic car brands, and how their two very different beginnings have shaped their design philosophies over the decades. Enzo Ferrari was born in 1898 in Modena, Italy. He had little to no formal education, and as a teenager he signed up for the Italian army during World War I. He always wanted to become a race car driver. It was a dream that was ingrained into his mind from a very young age. Once discharged from the military, Enzo decided to take steps to make that dream into a reality by joining the Alfa Romeo racing team in 1920. However, after a few years, he realized that he spent more time in the garage developing the car than actually racing them. He eventually came up with the idea to build his own racing cars and recruited a team made up of Alfa Romeo drivers. He called his new team Scuderia Ferrari, and with that, the brand that we all know and love today was born. However, there was a legal problem with doing this. Enzo had signed a non-compete contract with Alfa Romeo which prevented him from building and racing his own cars for 4 years. This was a frustrating time since he was eager to prove to the world that he could build superior race cars, but he honored the contract until finally in 1947 he officially launched his Ferrari racing team. And Ferrari saw immediate success. They won the 1949 20 Hours of Le Mans with the Ferrari 166mm and their first Grand Prix at Silverstone in 1951. The absolutely stunning 166mm was powered by a 140 horsepower V12, and thanks to its super light weight of only 640 kilos, it could reach a top speed of 140 miles per hour. It was designed specifically for long endurance races and to be slippery through the air. And this is a design philosophy born on the racetrack, and its philosophy still influences Ferraris of today. Even though the Ferrari race team was successful, Enzo soon realized it's a very expensive sport and he needed to find a way to fund it. So reluctantly, he started building and selling cars to the public. Now, one of the buyers of Ferrari was a man named Ferruccio Lamborghini. Ferruccio grew up as a farmer and had a degree in mechanical engineering, and during World War II, he served as a mechanic in the Italian Royal Air Force before creating his company called Lamborghini Trattori. Now, he timed the start of his company perfectly. Italy's farmers were thriving after the war and needed farming equipment, and that's exactly what Ferruccio built and sold. He specialized in tractors, and it wasn't long before Lamborghini tractors could be seen scattered all over Italy and the farmers' fields. And this made Ferruccio a very wealthy man. He wanted to celebrate his success by purchasing 2 Ferraris from Enzo himself. He bought a white one for himself, and he also bought a black one for his wife. He thought the cars were good, almost great, but in his mechanical engineering mind, they weren't perfect. He tried many different brands in search of the perfect sports car, but could never seem to find it. Ferruccio started to take the Ferraris apart to see how they were built and if he could potentially make them even better. And while doing this, he noticed something he couldn't believe. After disassembling the engine and transmission, he saw that the clutch was the same commercial clutch he used in his tractors. Ferruccio went crazy seeing this and decided to confront Enzo. He simply could not believe that these high-end sports cars that cost 100 times more than his tractors were fitted with the same clutch. As you would expect, Enzo Ferrari did not take this very well. He insulted Ferruccio, calling him a simple tractor driver that shouldn't complain about his beautiful creations and instead go back to his farm. And thank God Ferruccio got insulted, because just 1 year later, Ferruccio decided to launch his own performance car brand under the Lamborghini name with one simple mission: to create the perfect car. And what a car he built. He built a few luxury cars at first, but their first true sports car prototype was the absolutely gorgeous 1966 Lamborghini Miura. In 2021, both Ferrari and Lamborghini had the most sales ever recorded in a calendar year, with the Urus making up more than 50% of the sales volume for Lamborghini. And with Ferrari's SUV, the Purosangue, just around the corner, those numbers are expected to keep growing in the coming years. And that's the story of how an insult sprouted the competition and growth of two of the most iconic car brands the world has ever seen. Now this is very interesting to look at. We have the Ferrari and the Lamborghini side by side, and what I want to do is show you the different design philosophy of these two brands, because they had very different beginnings. So up here we have the 60s, the 250 GTO and the Miura, two of the most beautiful cars of all time, and we can still see some differences in this design. The 250 GTO clearly designed for racing. That is the main purpose of the 250 GTO, while the Miura, it was Ferruccio's idea of creating an even better sports car than what Ferrari could have done. Moving into the 1980s, we have the 288 GTO and the Countach. So you can see that we have this more, these designs are more in line with what was going on in car design of this era in general. The 80s were a lot more sharp and a lot more edgy, but you can still see that the Countach just take this to a completely new, different level. And here is this design language that we see still today, with the A-pillar and the glass of the greenhouse, the windshield going straight into the same line that we have in the hood. I'm gonna show you this when I'll have a look at the Gallardo and compare it to the 360 Modena in a side view in just a second. You're gonna see exactly what I'm talking about. Then moving into the 2000s, we have the 360 Modena and the Gallardo right here. What I think Lamborghini did really well, and a genius move by Lamborghini with the Gallardo, was that this time right here, this is sort of the end phased out of the melted cheese design. But looking at the Ferrari, you can still see that it has a lot of soft curvatures to it. I love the design of the 360 Modena. I think it's a gorgeous looking machine. And compare it to the same era Lamborghini, still they did not go into this melted cheese philosophy at all. Instead, they hammered down on their design philosophy, which is having a chiseled, almost a wedge look of their designs, even when everybody else made very round shapes in the early 2000s. And I think this just added to the design identity for Lamborghini when they made such a completely different design from what everybody else was doing, and it kind of solidified the sharpness or the angles that we know Lamborghini is still using today with the Gallardo. Now going into the Huracan and the 488 GTB here, same thing here. We have the same kind of philosophy still going strong in both of these cars. I think the Huracan is maybe a little too tame to be a Lamborghini. It still looks very, very good. It's still a simple design, even though it looks complicated, but it actually isn't when you break this down into the key lines that it's built up of. Same with the Gallardo. It looks like a very complicated, a lot of angles going on, but it is one of the most simplistic and elegant designs I've seen in a mid-engine sports car, is the Gallardo design. The 488 GTB is a continuation or a successor to the 458 Italia, which to me, I think that was the last Pininfarina design where they collaborated with Ferrari to create the 458 Italia, and to me it's just a masterpiece of car design. The 458 Italia is one of my favorite Ferraris of all time. I do like the 488 GTB too. but I prefer the 458 where you don't have the cutout like you have right here in the side of the 488. It's still a gorgeous looking car. I would like to have a 458 with the modernized graphics of the headlights, and more importantly the LED circle that we have on the 488 compared to the 458, which has LED dots in the taillights. If I could have a 458 body with the 488 graphics, I would have my perfect mid-engine Ferrari. Now I want to show you this. I talked about the side view. If you want to sketch one of these cars, if you want to draw up a Ferrari, the 360, a small mid-engine, or a mid-engine Lamborghini, one big difference that you need to keep in mind is just have a look at where the A-pillar stops. This is what I'm talking about with the Lamborghini having a super strong identity. You have three key lines in the Lamborghini. One is this shoulder line, the other one is the roof line, which is almost one continuous curvature going in from the front end, very end point of the front, into the windshield, into the rear end, and dipping back here. Doesn't really come back up at all. And then we have the base line as well. We can put that out right here. But look at the A-pillar on the 360 here. If you want to sketch these out, or a 458 or something like that, you're gonna have to move the A-pillar further back than what you have on a Lamborghini. Here you have the A-pillar almost stopping right above the wheel, the center of the front wheel. In the Ferraris, you have them moved back almost half a meter or something like that compared to the Lamborghinis, and that's what makes Lamborghini such a strong brand DNA, while still Ferrari retaining this smooth, elegant, graceful design that they've had since the 60s, while Lamborghini's design language is more raw and brutal. They're two very different philosophies, but they still both make very beautiful cars. And I think this design language is going to continue with both brands and being even more implemented harder in both brands, because just have a look at the Purosangue up here, compare that to the Urus. This is a typical going back almost to the 60s with this shoulder, with the smoothness and elegance and grace of the Ferrari compared to the raw and brutal lines of the Urus. So this is not something that is gonna go away, and I'm really happy about that. Ferrari was kind of almost creeping into the Lamborghini territory a few years back with the F8 Tributo, almost overstyled, and then were a little bit confused. But with the Roma and the Purosangue here, I think they're dialing it back and bringing it back to the 60s and the origins of their design philosophy. Before we continue, I'm excited to let you know that we just launched our brand new metal artwork series on the sketchmonkey.com. These glossy metal pieces of art will stand the test of time while remaining easy to clean. Perfect for your garage, office, man cave, or as a gift for someone who loves cars just as much as you do. Want me to make you a custom-made painting of your car for print? I'm opening up a few spots in the coming months. Just click the link below to learn more. And these come in 6 different sizes, from 8 by 10 inches all the way up to 24 by 36 inches. So go to thesketchmonkey.com or click the link in the description to order yours.